So we finally have the early spoilers for chapter 13 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and it pretty much confirms when Boruto started working with Kashin Koji. So we have a lot to discuss, so let's get into it. So the first panel shows Boruto standing in this layer of sort, and this is indeed Orochiromari's hideout based on the patterns on the wall and the columns. By the way, this was later confirmed by Kashin Koji himself when he said outside wind. It's one of Orochiromari's bases already abandoned. Now just to clarify, outside wind just means outside the land of wind, and I'm sure this is going to be translated better in the actual chapter, but that's pretty much what it means. So yeah, this area that was shown in the prior chapters having the snake scale patterns on the walls along with a snake itself is indeed Orochiromari's hideout. Now what I did find interesting based on this image is what's on the ground. It does seem to be a summoning seal, and Boruto is standing on it along with one of Kashin Koji's toads, and Kashin Koji himself is rising from the ground with one hand down. So it seems as if he just performed a summoning seal. This then leads me to believe that this is when Boruto was summoned by Kashin Koji while he was trying to escape from Code. So everyone was trying to wonder, how did Boruto escape from Code? If Code was stronger and faster, what did Boruto do to escape? And if Boruto had Flying Thunder God, wouldn't he have taken Sasuke with him? So the only logical answer is that Boruto flew away since Code can't fly. But then again, why didn't Boruto just take Sasuke with him and fly away? So that leads me to believe that he didn't fly away and he didn't use Flying Thunder God. He instead was summoned by Kashin Koji mid-battle. And this makes perfect sense because based on Boruto's dialogue in that moment in chapter 5, he didn't want to leave Sasuke behind. But then an explosion happened and he just disappeared and returned later on. So I do think he was summoned by Kashin Koji, and that explains the expression on his face at this point in time. Now it could be that Boruto is just surprised by the fact that someone summoned him to an unknown location, so that could be the case, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now based on this panel, Kashin Koji goes on to say, by the way, that frog is a scientific ninja tool. Structurally, it is similar to a real frog, but it's man-made. I'm controlling it with my chakra. It was not the frog itself that was talking to you, it was me. Boruto then says, who are you? Do you know me? Now what I will say is that this somewhat debunks my original theory that this is when Boruto was summoned in the battle versus Code, because if he was talking to Boruto as he implied in this chapter, then the frog would have needed to be present in the battle versus Code as well, and that was not shown. That could be that it was and it just wasn't shown on the panels that we saw. So it doesn't outright debunk the theory, but it just makes it less likely. Although what I will say is that it could have also been the case that the frog spoke to Boruto while he was trying to escape from Code, and then he just used it to reverse summon Boruto. Now this isn't new to the series. Naruto was summoned to Mount Miyaboku by one of the Toad Sages back in Shippuden using a similar method, and then he used a similar method to summon his clones to the battlefield in the fight versus Pain. And this was later used by Kashin Koji himself when he sent Amado to the Hidden Leaf Village. So again, multiple examples of this being used, so this isn't anything new. Now it does also seem like Boruto has no idea who Kashin Koji is, but that's mainly because he can't see his face because it's covered by the hood. But what I will say is that even if he can see his face, he likely wouldn't be able to recognize Kashin Koji because he never saw him without his mask. So that is likely why Kashin Koji in this image is raising the broken mask to his face so Boruto can recognize him. And since Boruto knows that Kashin Koji was a main factor in defeating Jigen and the Shikyo Otsutsuki, he would trust him and work with him, right? So that's why Kashin Koji teaching Boruto Flying Thunder God makes such sense, and this is outright stated in the databook. He helped Boruto to develop this version of the technique. So this also confirms that Boruto couldn't have used Flying Thunder God to escape from Code and taken Sasuke with him because he hadn't learned the technique at that point in time. So yeah, everything makes sense as it pertains to the timeline. Now one of the biggest theories out there is that since Kashin Koji is a clone of Jiraiya, this explains why he knew the formula for Flying Thunder God. Now I want you guys to take this with a big grain of salt, since it hasn't been confirmed or hinted at that Kashin Koji has access to Jiraiya's memories. Though the argument could be made since Amado was able to save his daughter's memories and implant them into her cloned body, that being Delta. But even then the argument has one big flaw, which is that Amado was only able to do this because he saved the backup of her memories before she died. Clearly that wouldn't have been possible for Jiraiya based on the timeline of his death. So while he was able to clone his body to some degree, since Koji isn't really that identical, that doesn't explain him having the memories. Now Naruto Explained made a very interesting point on Twitter about you being able to share memories through chakra, or that memories can leak through accidentally as seen in the war. So it could be that through whatever DNA sample Amado retrieved, Kashin Koji was able to retrieve some of Jiraiya's memories through his chakra residue. Though what I will will say is that it's kind of a stretch since we never saw that happen for anyone else aside from Naruto, who willingly shared his chakra with everyone. It's not like Madara gained Hashirama's memories after implanting his cells into his body, so this clearly isn't universal. Then again, if I play devil's advocate, you could argue that chakra does possess memories, and Amado just has the technology that allows him to access it. So if they did explain that this is how he knew about it, it wouldn't be the end of the world, it would make sense. Or it could simply be that Kara was able to steal the secrets from the village, as they did many other times. And the formula for FTG was just one of them, which Kashin Koji then taught to Boruto. By the way, it could also be the case that they just created it from scratch using the information the public has on how the jutsu functions, but we'll have to wait and see. Now what I find most interesting is the connection to Orochimaru, because even though it appears that they're just in one of his abandoned hideouts, it doesn't mean that Orochimaru isn't involved in any way, shape or form. Because given the fact that Boruto has one of those swords, him learning wind style breakthrough, which is Orochimaru's technique that he taught to Mitsuki, I think it's just perfectly logical for Orochimaru to be involved in some way, shape or form. Along with the fact that he knows a lot about the Otsutsuki, which he then taught to Mitsuki, which was revealed in one of Boruto's episodes. Then you have the entire fiasco with Victor and the fake god tree that he also knew about for some reason. And Naruto and Sasuke in one of the novels saying that Orochimaru's research on the Otsutsuki will be needed to fight against them in the future. So I think the story is just literally implying that Orochimaru will be important at some point in time. Now this might not be the time, but that time will be coming soon, because I don't think Boruto is gonna last much longer. I know you guys want it to last 10 more years, but it has been around for over 7 years, so I think we have at least 3 to 4 years left, and the story needs to pick up and get into the Otsutsuki lore, as I mentioned in the stream I did the other day. So we need more information on the Otsutsuki, we need more information on the Ten Tails, and I think we need more information on the formation of the universe as well, and the connection between all of these entities, because there's a reason why the Ten Tails needs to consume an Otsutsuki to produce a chakra fruit. There's a reason why only the Otsutsuki can consume a chakra fruit, as stated by Orochimaru. There's a reason why these entities are genetically connected. There's a reason why the Ten Tails is stated to have spawned the universe, and all Ten Tails are just a fragment of that main god tree. So there's a connection between these entities, and I think they could do so much more with the lore if they really wanted to. But of course, slowing down a bit here, going on to chapter 13, I think we're gonna see Momoshiki pop up to save Boruto. Boruto isn't healed as yet, and he does have accelerated healing, but that's more so Momoshiki's abilities. I think this chapter will confirm whether or not Boruto can control the healing factor of Momoshiki, since he's technically 82% Momoshiki. So it could be that Momoshiki controls that ability and he prevents Boruto from healing, which means that Boruto then has to switch over to Momoshiki, and that could lead to a fight between Momoshiki and Jura, which I think will be fantastic. But that also depends on whether Jura stays around to fight Boruto, although I think that makes the most sense, because if he says that he needs to kill Boruto, Boruto is down, why wouldn't he finish the job? He can just snipe Boruto again right now in the head and it's over. So if he leaves, there needs to be a good reason why he doesn't finish Boruto right here. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah guys, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think is gonna happen in the upcoming chapters? What are your thoughts on this spoiler release? Of course, the full spoiler is gonna come out in 2 to 3 days, and of course I'll cover it on the channel as well. But yeah, if you like the video, drop a like, and if you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.